It's been a few years since I've gotten out a healthy few seconds of crying, so I've decided to spin the block on Anohana, which is already breaking one of my rules, that being that I only watch these sorts of shows one time and move on with my life. The ending song has seriously triggered emotions that I'm afraid of feeling again for the second time. I'll be honest, besides Violet Evergarden episode 10 sneaking me across my jaw, and Clanad After Story on the back end of 3 specific episodes that are vividly burned into the back of my eyes, Anohana has seriously made me tear up. You see, back then this was one of the few shows that reminded me that I was still human. I realize these shows aren't the most popular, or maybe they are in some corners of the interwebs that I'm simply not privy to. You know, very dark, lonely, and mentally abusive corners where people enjoy watching 2D characters emotionally scar them just so that they could feel something in the cold hours of the night. But hey, more power to those guys, okay? I thought when it came to these cry your eyes out kind of shows, I'd always cover Clanad first, being that it's one of my all-time favorite animes. But now that I'm finally here, I don't have the courage to touch that shit, man. I barely have the courage to rewatch Anohana, but Clanad After Story hurts too much, and it's a bit too realistic for me. So, because I'm pussy, I'm going over Anohana. I might be a masochist, but I'm not a full-blown masochist. Oh yeah, and this time, rather than doing a full episode-to-episode review of this show, I don't want to give away everything, as I truly believe that Anohana is a hidden gem. And for the handful of people who might stumble upon this video, I hope you'll give this show a chance, even if I do a shit job recommending it. But because I can't help myself, I'll put timestamps to those who don't wish to get spoiled. Anyway. You know you're watching a true nut in all of his nutty glory when off the bat, him seeing his friend that's been dead for a chunk of his puberty is all of a sudden talking to him and touching him in his room and he barely reacts. Weak as fuck. Sorry, I had to. Genton's a full-on loon. I know it's summer and them fucking cicadas won't shut the hell up, but there's no way I'm seeing a dead childhood friend materialize out of thin air and is all of a sudden interacting with me and my flapper is barely gasted. Genton kinda built different, but that's not to be taken in a good way, as you realize the deeper in the show you go. But yeah, a few red flags are definitely waving for sure. Good old days when you got to be a kid and you said some suspect shit because you didn't know any better. Gotta love the innocence of a child, man. Okay, so he comes to the conclusion that he must be sick for seeing and being able to touch Menma, but I don't know, Genton, you were pretty composed as if you deal with this shit on the regular. Anime or not, you're way too lax, my boy. Menma suggests that she's probably haunting the living because she wants her wish to be granted, as if she's some reverse genie. Yeah, coming back to life and granting my best friends a wish. Let me pull up on them and have them do something for me. Like, Menma, if you don't fuck out of here and leave me alone to be a no-life shut-in neat, life was already stressful for Genton, and you want to show up and put more on his plate? Your selfish ass is already dead, but you want to give me a list of chores to do? Like, imagine your mom and dad died halfway through you getting your law degree, but then you decided you want to pursue art because it makes you happier. God, how did this get so morbid? Fuck it, we're already here. Then your parents haunt you saying how you promised them you'd be a lawyer. So what now? Am I supposed to quit art and go back to law to make you content beyond the grave? If you don't let Jintan live his stressful life in peace, Menma. Anaru pulls up. Menma gives her a good old hug, and we see that Anaru can't see Menma. It's just Jintan's unfortunate self that can hear her. But she can feel Menma and says her shoulder felt heavy. Imagine all of your loved ones who passed away. Bro, I swear this video really isn't meant to be morbid. But for a sec, it would be hilarious if any random pain or stiffness or heaviness you felt was from the dead. Like if you did something they wouldn't approve of, and they just yanked your shoulder out of its socket while you were asleep, and then you woke up with a fucked up shoulder, wondering how it got like that. Yeah, for the guys and ladies out there beating or flicking their shit, your relatives and loved ones who passed on are definitely watching you.
どっかに捨てりゃいいだろこんなもん。どうせあんな矛もう行く気なんてねえし。
宿みが来なくたってどうだっていいけどさ。あんたみっともないよ。
She cares, little bro. They usually care when they have to preface themselves with the whole I don't care bit. Kinda like people under posts online who take some time out of their busy lives and feel compelled to comment how much they don't care. Because people who don't usually care tend to announce how much they don't care. Get with the program.
危ねえぞ。
Okay, all jokes aside, and ignoring the part with Jintan reacting the way that he did because Menma died and he lives with regret and turning off my overanalyzing brain. If Menma is corporeal, but can only be heard by Jintan, if Truck-kun were to come along and tackle Menma, would she die? Like, how does that work? Like, if her insides were splashed all over the place, could somebody walk along and slip over that? Good old Yukiatsu. We'll get back to this sick little f***er later on when he becomes more relevant. But real quick, he gets a bit rude to Jintan here, calling him out on being a bum, which reinforces Jintan's claim to Menma about how everyone except him has changed. Again, I don't want to go over every detail in this show, but I want y'all to remember this little bit of body language here, as it will make more sense later on. Now, sometimes as humans, we can easily misread situations and body language, but not here. This right here is reminiscent of being in an immature relationship, where your partner hears your ex's name being brought up, so they immediately try to get a read of you, and you just gotta sit there and act calm. Yeah, off-rip Yukiatsu has failed, and is given nothing but signal rays of suspicion, but I'ma let the boy live for now.
正直に言えよ。超平和バスターズに隠し事はなしだぞ。誰がこんなブス。
Kids can be so cruel. Like you had to do all of that, Jintan. No wonder she's haunting your ass from the grave. Damn, I take back every bad thing I said about Menma. It sucks even more, because that was the last thing he ever said to her. Having to live with that is difficult. The thought of losing someone you care about and not being able to make it right with them before they're taken away hurts. I mean, we're human. Well, at least some of us are. So it's easy to sympathize with Jintan here.
なんも入ってねえ。親父め。
Sir, if you don't take your ass outside more often to touch some damn grass and help your father who was paying all the damn bills in this bitch. Popo shows up camping it out at the old hangout spot when they were all kids, and he immediately believes Jintan about him hallucinating Menma. But anyway, that's our main cast. Yay! Yeah, I still haven't gotten to the part where I want to dissect Yukiatsu's brain, but since we're already here, I'ma just do it, man. What the f is going on here, man? What are we doing? Like on some real shit? Yes, death and grief hits everyone differently. How you choose to grieve can be completely different compared to another person. And we should allow those people that space to do so. But not this. I'm sorry. And I ask again, what is going on here? This can't be healthy. This is the type of shit that when you go into your appointment with your therapist, you completely omit this information. This is the type of shit you take with you to your grave. Like even at a party, years later removed from the situation. When you're drunk or tipsy and your brain tells you to tell that ridiculous story so everyone could have a good laugh. That's when your consciousness sobers up and reels you back in to tell you shut the fuck up. But hey, we'll be back to you again, Yukiatsu, because you're the gift that keeps on giving.
いつも付き合わされてるけど、一体誰に貢いでるの？
Never mind, I lied. We're right back on his ass. Yukiatsu bringing Suruko, the girl who really likes him, while he shops to buy things to cosplay as Menma, the girl he actually had a crush on, is some insane work. Also, for this guy to show up at the barbecue and lie about being able to see Menma so he can run his little mind game on everyone, but more so to knock Jintan down a peg, is wild. Honestly, this entire video can actually be a case study of Yukiatsu. You couldn't just pull up to the fucking barbecue and spend time with your childhood friends like a normal person. Man's really got a lot of time on his hands. While I already got my foot on this freak-ass dude's neck, I might as well finish him off. But first, look at Suruko here. This is the look of a girl who knows that her man is a full-on nut, but is still willing to ride for him and hold him down, in spite of all of the mess. But Yukiatsu, man, after Jintan called his bluff, as instructed by Suruko, this man Yukiatsu goes full nut mode and puts on his Menma cosplay fit, and takes to the woods and runs around like a hooligan. I'll be straight with y'all. Yukiatsu went out pretty sad here. I actually felt kinda bad for him, getting caught with his pants down in front of all of his childhood friends. Because now they all know just how much of a nut he truly is. Suruko knew exposing his ass had to have been the beginning process of him healing, but if I'm being completely honest, every one of them needs therapy. It's just that the physical manifestation of Yukiatsu's trauma is loud and wacky on some Looney Tunes. But hey, I'm a squirrel, so I love this type of nutty shit. Which explains why, despite me shitting all over him, Yukiatsu is my favorite character on this second watch through. And on top of all of this, he's aware that he's a nut. He even owns up to it. He doesn't argue otherwise, and can even get a good smile out of being called out. So shout out to him. Because of Menma's importance in this show, she kinda feels like the glue that held the friend group together, and at the same time felt like the catalyst that dissolved the group. But it wasn't her fault. Menma was just being Menma.
私は自分のことしか考えてなかった。メンマのこと考え続けるジンタン見てたくなかったから。願いを叶えてあげたいんじゃなくて、自分のためにメンマを成仏させたかった。
I really did forget how messy this shit was. We got a fucking love pentagon going on over here. This show kinda has some 13 reasons why shit going on, as in everyone in the friend group has played a part in Menma dying. But, you know, without all of them being assholes, and without Menma taking herself out, At least not on purpose.
モテすぎだぞ、お前。
It is kind of funny to think about how a little girl, being years removed from walking amongst the living, had Honoru and Sukuro emotionally shook that they couldn't be her. Like Menma really had that sauce without even trying, and they could not for the love of God figure out the recipe. In closing, this show is about being frozen in time, being unable to move forward, cherishing loved ones who are no longer by your side, how people cope with the death of those loved ones, and how those feelings impact their relationship with others around them, as well as their self. The death of a loved one is something we all have to experience the older we grow, and as real as it feels watching this, ignoring the obvious supernatural element of this show, Anohana is painfully beautiful in its illustration of accepting death and trying to move on, even though it could be difficult, and also that you're not alone in that fight. Throw in some childhood friends finding their way back to each other through shared, unresolved trauma, and this is a good watch. Yeah, preferably with a box of tissues. It's funny how this worked out for me though, as I'm currently making this portion of the script for this video on the eve of Christmas Eve, while I'm thankful for those I have in my life. I'm kinda just here thinking about the loved ones who are taken away from this life, and how the holidays no longer feel the same, and about the regrets I have concerning the things I wish I would have told them. But that's life. I could throw out a bunch of fortune cookie wisdom bullshit about how life isn't a smooth pavement and how it's instead one filled with potholes and bumps, but that's really not my bag. You don't put a band-aid over losing a loved one and then expect it to be healed within a couple days. Scars will always be left behind, and that's something you won't forget. Well, so much for not yapping up about some fortune cookie bullshit. I promise, I never intended this video to be such a downer, but Anohana is the type of show that gets you deep in your feels, and makes you contemplate about life and even a bit of introspection. At least for me anyway. Maybe my testosterone levels are down, but I didn't know that my eyes could still get this wet. Sure, if you want a decent cry, this can be the show for you, but it offers more than that. Even if I wasn't able to do it justice because of my stupid commentary. So please, if you were on the fence before or just never thought about it, or you haven't touched grass in a while and need a short show to run through, please check out Anohana. You fucking pussies. And before I go, why couldn't they give my girl Memma some fucking sandals or some Crocs? She's practically a ghost. They couldn't give her the Casper the Ghost treatment and remove her legs, or simply give her some footwear? This show had her running around all over the place barefoot. I don't care how clean Japan is. You can't tell me she ain't stumped her toe a few times running around in them woods. You know, maybe Anohana is truly about the friends we've lost along the way. I'm sorry, but I had to end this on some dumb bullshit.